Athletes Audio Academy, where we offer mental training tips, advice, and improvement from the greatest minds in this business. And we are certainly joined with one today, Dr. Jack Bowman. Good to see you from the Mind Plus Muscle Institute.
Good to be back with you, Bob.
As we visited a few weeks ago, I asked a question about sort of the key mental skills. And in our previous conversation, you highlighted two of goal setting and imagery. And I know that somewhere between those two and the 600-page textbook that I've seen for applied sports psychology, there's a middle ground in terms of helping athletes sort of understanding the core mental skills. I know there are the programs that exist out there in the world sort of span the spectrum from very complicated and long to semi-complicated and semi-long. But I don't know that I've heard anyone compress it as well as you have in your Perform Like a Star program for a quick, simple way to understand mental skills training. So talk a little bit about your Perform Like a Star program, how it's different from a lot of what's out there, and what makes it easy for athletes to digest.
Well, thanks, Bob. Your point is well made about the fact that the field of sports psychology, particularly in the area of mental skills training and mental preparation, how do I get myself ready to perform at just the level that I want to, with the energy level at just right, my mental focus just right, my emotional level just right, and that whole question continues to be addressed. But it seems that the literature and the people in the applied field are ever expanding the kinds of things they say you need to do. And so I kind of took a look at the entire field, all of the information out there, and said, you know, if we do know enough about it at the present time, which I believe we do, to present a lot of good ideas, how can we condense those ideas down to a simple, basic, applied formula that an athlete or performing artist going on the stage can use in simply a matter of minutes to really perform like a star, to perform at their very best, with whatever level of expertise or practice they've acquired, and to be able to let their skills play, basically. Whatever they have developed to that point, let them perform to the extent that they are truly capable without having the psychological factors holding them back. So the impetus behind the Perform Like a Star program was to build a tool that qualified, let's say, the three Bs. It had to be basic, covered all the basic elements, not leave anything out. It had to be brief, both in its description, how you would describe it to somebody, and in its application. And it had to be beneficial. It had to actually work. It had to have a real positive influence on the performance that was going to follow. So those were my guidelines, and I think that the Perform Like a Star program, as it's been developed, has actually met those three levels of expectation.
And the star makes a good visual for the 5 points that you're going to address in that quick, I need to sort of get my mental game together quickly. The visual of a star does draw a real clear picture for the athlete to be able to call up quickly. So what's on the star? What are the 5 points?
Absolutely. That point you made has been reinforced by a lot of the people who are using it, a lot of the athletes, and I just gave a lecture at the University of Stony Brook last night on this program, and that is exactly the point that a number of the coaches said. This is something that's so valuable because I can remember it in my mind. You know, it's easy to picture this star, and the idea is to say, in the middle of the star, a five-pointed star, is my star power. It's me performing at my very best. And the 5 points of the star are the things that kind of contribute, each in their own way. At the top of the star, as we discussed in one of our previous audio casts, is goal setting. And to the right is positive, effective thinking, thinking in the right ways, having the right mindset. Down to the bottom right is stress and energy management, how to control your energy levels, where to put your energy, where to direct your energy. It's very important that we have a focus for energy and know that we can direct it. Attention control is the next point. Where your focus is, how you're planning to attend or focus from the beginning of an event through an event. And then finally, the one that we've covered already, imagery, how to use imagery effectively. The key to these five, as I call star skills, in their application is, and I think what really makes this program so effective, is that you don't have to do a lot of mental work in order for it to be useful. It's been structured so that in each of those 5 STAR skills, there are 2 questions that you ask yourself at each point. And in interacting with those questions and in contemplating and really mindfully processing those questions, the athlete or the performer brings up resources within themselves, either from previous mental training. This can be used as kind of a final tune-up, a final psychological tune-up, and what we call the pre-start focus for athletes who have spent years in mental training. This is an excellent way to kind of bring it all together at just the right time, as well as for beginners, people who have never been introduced to mental skills training before, have no idea what mental training is, what psychological skills training is, and introduce them to this very basic idea and say, aha, so that's what it's about, aha, I can do something with goal setting, I can do something with positive effective thinking right here and now, in a way that can actually benefit me. So that it has both of those capabilities.
And it's an appetizer, not a 7 course meal. You know what I mean? The image that pops into my mind is the old statement or question of how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. And
Yeah.
and for those athletes who have no idea where to start, to go to the internet and put in, mental training, you're going to get bombed with, resources. If you go to the bookstore, you go to the library, there's just going to be a lot of information out there that's going to take time to condense and read and make sense of.
Right.
And the Perform Like a Star program just brings all those key elements together in a quick, easy to remember visual.
And as well as something that once they've done it several times, it is very easy to actually apply. So it doesn't take a tremendous amount of memory or systematization to kind of actually run through the protocol. If I could, Bob, I would like to just actually guide your listeners through the protocol very quickly, because I think they would really have a better idea as to what we're talking about if they actually could engage in it, while they're listening to this audio cast. The other thing is that it is free. The article on this particular program, Perform Like a Star, the article is called Perform Like a Star, A Pocket Guide to Psychological Skills, is available on my free articles page on the Mind Plus Muscle website. There is an expanded version of it which gets into all of the science behind the method, why these particular strategies and questions work. That's available on Kindle. But for the athlete who just really wants to put something into their toolbox, that's very brief, basic, and beneficial, this really, I think, does the trick.
Sure. So run through it. What
Okay.
do a minute on each point on the star.
Well, I'd like the athletes to start out, or you're getting ready for performance, a couple of minutes to go. So put yourself in that situation, and the first thing you want to ask yourself under goal setting, the goal setting star skill is, what do I want to accomplish? What is the final outcome? What's my ideal performance? Have a picture in your mind of what it is that you want to accomplish during these next few minutes, particularly in the beginning of the contest. Really have a focus as to what you want to accomplish as this contest unfolds. That's what we call your outcome image. It's the image or the goal that says, in the end of it, this is what I want to accomplish. But we know from research that that's not the most effective thing to do on its own. So the second question really complements it and makes that first question even more powerful. First question is kind of motivational. What do I want to accomplish? I feel good about this. The second question is, what do I need to do? So it breaks down to, okay, so if that's what I want to accomplish, then I really have to do this. I have to take care of this, and this. So it breaks it down into what we call performance goals. So what do I want to accomplish here? Okay, I got a good idea. All right, what do I need to do? So instead of focusing in, the big picture, break it down to actual specific things, get right into the present moment. What do I need to do is so important because it brings you into the 3 Ps, which we say are the critical aspects of performance. Present positive process. 3 Ps. Present positive process. What do I need to do? Brings you right into those 3 Ps. So those are the first 2 questions. Now the athlete moves to the second star skill, and it's positive effective thinking. And here we're trying to, all people, no matter how old you are, how experienced you are, we're all going to have some tendency to start worrying or have negative thinking. What if this doesn't work out? What if I'm not ready? So we have to try and tease out, do I have some negative thinking going on right here? We want to make sure that we try to identify it and get rid of it. So the first question is what I'm thinking something that I would say aloud to a friend or a teammate? Is what I'm thinking right now something I would say, I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to handle this, or I'm just not ready. If we can say, I would never say that out loud to anybody. I don't want anybody knowing what I'm thinking right now. Then obviously that's what we call in sports psychology lexicon stinking thinking. Stinking thinking. That's something.
Is that the official
That's the
scientific
official title right there.
definition?
Stinking thinking. And when athletes understand, they hear that phrase stinking, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've had some of that. I know what that means." And so right away we say, "Okay, if there's some thinking, you got to turn it around." That's something you don't really think is you would even admit to thinking. Then obviously there's something wrong with it. Change it. Create a positive thought. Focus on something that you know is going on that's going to be well. And the second the second question is, can I find something useful or beneficial in this difficult or challenging situation? That is the grandfather of all positive thinking. It's called optimistic reappraisal. It is the most powerful psychological tool that an athlete can bring for mental toughness. Anything that comes up. I had two athletes go to the same pool to swim for a state championship 2 years ago. One athlete said to me, "Doc, I got there, the water was freezing. How could I be expected to swim my best time?" She came in third. The second athlete came to me that same day in consultation and said, "Doc, got there, water was freezing. I said to myself, I'm going to have to swim the fastest race of my life to get out of that water as quickly as I can." He set a state record and won the state championship.
Wow.
Same pool, same water. One found a way to use it in a beneficial way. The other found a way to debilitate their performance. So can I find something useful or beneficial in this situation that can help me? So those two questions really create the most effective, what we call positive effective thinking. Once the athletes, goals are in line, their thinking is in line, now we bring them to the stress and energy management. What's going on with my energy? And the first question says this: what am I focusing on when I'm performing at my best? What am I focused? I'm sorry, I skipped to attention control. Let's go back to stress and energy management. How confident am I about meeting the performance challenge in front of me? What's my confidence level? What's going on inside here? Not up here. What's going on inside of the inside my gut? How confident am I feeling about meeting this performance challenge? And what that does is it gets the athlete into this assessment, appraisal of where they are emotionally in reference to the perceived challenge. And this comes from the research in flow that says when your perceived level of challenge and your perceived level of confidence are equivalent, you get into the flow state. And where it's imbalanced, where the perceived level of challenge is high and perceived level of confidence is low, that creates anxiety. So we want to manage this. We want to get in there and say, let's help you with this. So assess it. Where is that perceived level of challenge? Where is my confidence level? And once you're aware of that, then you can do something about it. Now you know, well, this is what's creating some of these energies in me. And then you say to yourself, what have I done well in practice that I can draw on to build my confidence? If my confidence level is low and I'm feeling stressed, I could feel more and more confident by going to my well. I've done this well, I've done that well, my times have been great, my nutrition's been great, I've been really pumping in the weight room. You start focusing on all the things you're doing well, your confidence level builds, and now the energy, instead of it being anxiety, becomes what we call positive arousal. It's empowering. So we can transform pre-event anxiety into pre-event empowerment through these two questions. Then we move to the next STAR skill, and that's called attentional control. What am I focusing on? And clearly, in any performance, we know this to be absolutely, unquestionably true, that the degree to which somebody's going to succeed in anything is the degree to which they can stay focused and not be distracted. So this kind of interaction between focus and distraction, to the degree that I can stay focused and not distracted, I'm going to perform well. To the degree that I'm distracted and not focused on what I'm supposed to be doing, my performance is going to fall off. So the first thing we want to do is to get this person who's performing to say, what am I focusing on when I'm performing at my best? What is it that I need to focus on? When I'm really performing at my best, what is going on? People who are just beginning any kind of endeavor need to pay attention to their errors. So that tells them, okay, I got to change that, I got to change that. So in the beginning, a beginner should focus on what they're doing wrong. And a person who's proficient, who's practiced and trained, should always focus on what they're doing right. When it's going right, what's going on? What am I doing? What am I paying attention to? Where's my mind at? So we want them to say, this is what my focus is. If I'm focusing on this is terrific. This is what's going to help me. I had a runner that I was working with 2 years ago who ran and finished third in an NCAA championship race because her focus was just stay with the pack. Simple focus. She ran the best race of her life. She knew that when she started thinking about the outcome, her pace time or anything, it would be distracting. She just stayed with the pack and at the end had a kick. She finished third in the NCAA championship division 1A. That was really a highlight for her in her life because she was using just the right focus. So the first question is, what am I focusing on when I'm performing at my best? The second is, what can I say that I can use to regain my focus when I find myself being distracted? We call this a refocusing tool. Very important to have that before any kind of competition, because if you say, oh my gosh, I'm losing my focus, what do I do now? And you feel like you're kind of in a tailspin, that's just going to exacerbate all sorts of negative thinking and arouse energy turned into anxiety. You're going to begin to perform way more poorly than you had anticipated. Whereas if you say, I'm losing my focus, but I know if I say this to myself, pay attention, you can do it. Whatever phrase, you use, I have a phrase that I use, there's refocusing, the phrase is simple. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And when I'm in a difficult part in a training experience, and I know that I'm starting to focus on things I shouldn't, yes, I can. Get right back to where I need to focus. A refocusing tool. So the two questions, what am I focusing on when I'm performing at my best? What can I say or do to regain my focus when I find myself being distracted? Those are essential questions that really cement that performer pre-performance state into the right kind of thinking, the right kind of focus. Then finally we go to imagery, the last star skill. In imagery, the first question is, can I practice my performance in my mind, seeing, hearing, and feeling everything as vividly as possible? Can I create an image, a mental movie, a physiological experience that actually simulates what's going to happen once this game actually, or this competition actually starts? Simulation is so essential for improving performance. When you can practice in an environment that's almost identical to what you're going to be working in or performing in, that practice is of great value. There's a phrase in performance psychology that I use as kind of my standard mantra, and that is prepare to perform how you practice. Prepare to perform how you practice. So if you can create in your practice all those elements in terms of your image, exactly the same as they'll be in the actual event, that imagery, that mental imagery is going to be extraordinarily powerful for you. We want that person to just go through. It doesn't have to be the whole performance. Just how do I see myself doing what I'm going to be doing right here in the beginning of the event? They image it very vividly. And then finally, the last question is, how can I imagine all the joyous and positive thoughts and feelings that I'm going to have when I've completed my ideal performance? Can I get into this place right now? In other words, that's the place you want to be. You want to be in a real positive, let's go, this is going to be a great experience, I'm going to really nail this. And you have this sense of, I'm there, I did it. How does that feel? It feels great. So now, okay, I've completed the whole circle. What do I want to accomplish is the first question. How do I feel when I've accomplished it is the last question. You're now completely ready to say, let's go, let's do it.
That is a master class in sports psychology in 7.5 minutes. The, that's the Perform Like a Star program available at mindplusmuscle.com. Dr. Jack Bowman, thank you so much again for your commitment to athletes and for your time and advice here on the Athletes Audio Academy.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Bob. I'm glad I could be here with you today.